Hi everyone, this is Kathy from Homespun Seasonal Living, and we are talking today about our Cultivate and Nourish challenge, which is all about using it up, wearing it out, and making it do. And we've got Heather Mays from Beginner Sewing Projects with us, and she is going to talk all about ways to upcycle towels. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't get very creative with it. I just tend to use it for things that are going to stain or, I'm going to clean up and use as rags. But Heather's got some much more creative ideas for us. So Heather, why don't you say hello?
Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much for having me. I do have some creative ideas for you to upcycle towels today, and they are super easy sewing projects. Even if you've never sewn before, I know a lot of folks are buying machines right now. If this is the first time using a machine, grab a towel. I'm sure you have one already that can be turned into something else, and it's easier than you think to move through a domestic sewing machine, so don't let that intimidate you. Now, let me show you the first project I have here. Let me see if you can get it here in the camera. I have this little stack here of squares. And there's terry cloth on one side and flannel on the other. This was actually a receiving blanket that I cut up. And so it's a double upcycled project. But these little squares are makeup removers or facial cleansers. And the terry cloth on one side is nice because you can get off the mascara if you wear, tough makeup to get off eye makeup. And the flannel side is very gentle on the skin if you want to use it for a cleanser. So these little pads will replace the makeup rounds that you typically buy at the store. And you probably have things around the house to make them already. Squares are the easiest thing to sew. If this is your first project, you might want to look at these. I grab them all the time for things besides makeup remover too, because honestly, I don't wear makeup. But for little clean up things, I grab them a lot. They're handy.
And you can use any towel, right? Like if it was a hand towel or a bath towel or a tea towel kind of thing?
Sure. With this particular project, the tea towel is going to be even more gentle, so it kind of depends on what you want to use it for. If you have that like waterproof mascara that you really want to scrub off, you probably want a thicker bath towel or washcloth or something. But the tea towels work great too.
Okay, great.
Sticking with our bath theme, I have this is a bath mitt that I upcycled, and it has a pocket in it where you can insert a bar of soap.
Oh, that's so clever.
So you don't have to worry about gripping the soap. My grandmother inspired this project because she's having trouble with her arthritis and gripping the bar of soap. And so I made one of these for her, and it has really, been really helpful for her in the shower. She doesn't drop the soap anymore and have, it's safer for her to use. So
good idea. The idea that you don't drop the soap is so clever.
Yes. Personally, I use it for my toddler.
I was just going to say it might be great for babies too. Yeah.
Yes, wrangling children, it's also great. And this one is super easy because you don't, again, need a pattern. You just trace your hand and cut out the general shape of your hand. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then you sew on a pocket. So.
And I just want to say, I think if somebody makes handmade soap, because I think we have a lot of people who do that, what a great gift that would be, like to make them the mitt, and then give them a bar of soap. What a sweet gift.
Oh, yes. Oh, I would love to get one of those.
Right, I know, right? I love to get soap too. I love it. Yeah. Okay, and the next project you have for us?
The next project is already on Kathy's site here, and it is a gardening pad, and you can kind of see a better general size now that I'm holding it.
Yeah.
So it is rather large enough to sit on. And if this one is made out of oilcloth, and you're wondering why it's oilcloth and not terry cloth, right? You said this was about towels.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna open it up, and if you can see, there's a bunch of batting and towels in here. So it's extra soft and stuff that I just had around the house that I used to stuff this. And now I'm ready to go plant the garden if it ever stops raining.
Right. And I imagine somebody could change the size a little bit and use it like as a pad for sitting like at a, if you're going to a concert or something, out in the park,
Absolutely.
you sit on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, sure. This size actually is pretty good for like a bleacher if you
Yeah.
were, watching sports or something. But if you wanted it a little larger, sure, you could make it more square, less rectangle. This one has a handle on it where you can hang it or carry it. And so you can add pockets. So that's the cool thing about making things yourselves. You can really do it any way, which way to make it work for you.
That's great. So clever. And I love the idea that it could be stuffing. Like, so those old towels that are kind of, that do have some holes, or maybe they're not very fluffy and you don't want to use for a bath mitt or something, they'd be great stuffing. And you could probably apply that to a number of projects around the house.
Absolutely. You could do indoor house pillows. My kids love those, especially for movie nights and things. If you just want to stuff them, because the big pieces of foam that you have to buy for pillows can be expensive. If you have things already around the house that you can cut up, then that works great.
Right. But I'm not always so sure what that foam is made out of. Like, I'm always looking like the off-gassing and the smell and whatever. And at least, if it's a cotton towel, it's a cotton towel.
Yes, that's true.
And you said you had some other projects, but not examples, and that's just fine.
Yes. Okay. So a couple other things. We have reusable dryer sheets as well. Speaking of the chemicals, if you don't want to use the store-bought dryer sheets, then you can cut up pieces of terry cloth and flannel. It's very similar to the makeup removers. Again, super beginner friendly because they're squares, but if you can't sew straight or it's your first time sewing, who cares if your dryer sheets have straight stitches, right? So that's a really good way to practice. And then you can soak them in vinegar, water, essential oils, whatever you choose, a kind of solution to soften your clothes in the dryer.
Great.
Another idea is I have hooded towels for my kids. And so it's a towel with the little hoods on it, right? You've probably seen them before, but they're really easy to upcycle. If you have a bath towel and a hand towel, and you just sew them together, and voila, you have a hooded towel.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it's super, super easy. And again, the instructions are on my blog, but I make them in different colors for each kid, so that makes it easier to track, especially if you find one on the floor, you know which kid did it.
They don't do that. No, they don't do that. That is really great. Super great. And then, and you talked earlier about these are great projects for beginners and using with the sewing machine, and we can just use a regular sewing machine, right? We don't need a serger or super fancy stitches or anything like that. The most basic machine will do these.
The most basic machine is fine. These are all done with a straight stitch and a universal needle. So you probably have everything you need. And the garden kneeler takes a little bit of time because it has more pieces. But the other projects, you could do in under 30 minutes.
Sure. When I first learned how to sew a really long time ago from my grandmother, how I learned how to sew was she taught me how to make cloth napkins, because that was like the best, because it's just a square, quite like these projects. And so you just learn how to use the machine and how to, do the seam width and all that kind of thing, the seam allowance. So these are really great projects for beginners, but they'd also be great projects for kids. Maybe not the kneeling pad so much, right? But the mitt, even though it's a little different shape, wouldn't be too bad for a kid, would it? Maybe the pocket.
It wouldn't, but if you wanted to work on some hand sewing, that could be a good project for that as well. They don't all have to be done with a sewing machine. Again, the kneeler might be better with the machine, but the other projects you could easily do by hand if you wanted more of a slower hand process.
Right, that is a good idea. And so people shouldn't be intimidated, is what you're saying. Really, go just something to do, just a needle and thread, just like grandma, and you can absolutely do hand sewing while you're watching Netflix or something else. I'm the kind of person who likes to keep my hands busy even if I'm watching a movie. I tend to do knitting projects that I don't have to think about, right? That don't have, that are just knit or whatever. And so, but a hand sewing like that, and I'll sometimes mend when I'm watching television, because it's just in and out and, putting on a button, you don't have to think too hard. So that's great.
That's a
And
great
I will
idea.
put for everybody, I will put in the notes the links to all these projects so that you can go see how to actually make them step by step. And we will include all of Heather's information. So Heather, tell people where they can find you, please.
Yes, you can find me and many projects at beginnersewingprojects.com. There's all of these fun projects there, and there's more for the kids, and there's also some tutorials on how to sew. So if it's your first time, then that's probably a good place to start.
Right. She even has one on how to sew a straight line, which if you've never really sewn, it doesn't seem like, oh, it can't be that hard, but it actually can be a little bit. It feels intimidating. And so Heather has a great way to help you just figure it out. It's not.
So I'll tell you the secret. Don't look at the needle.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
It makes all the difference.
So that, and sometimes, and Heather does a lot of this on her blog, is sometimes that sewing feels really intimidating, but when you've never done it. But when you talk to somebody else who has done it for a while, they know a lot of little tips and tricks, like don't look at the needle, that you don't always see in books or other places. And that's really where the knowledge and the expertise comes in, and where you can build upon your skills. And that's really what this whole Cultivate and Nourish project is about. We just really want to build upon our skills so that we can feel a little more self-reliant, right? So we can feel a little more in control of our life and make use of everything we have around our house. So we will put all of those links down below, and we will include plenty of things for you all to try and experiment on your own. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.